lawyer, SSF, your prison lawyer. And if you're in this space right now, I called you in from social media. I want to welcome you to the family, IGSTS. In God we trust, IGSTS, yes sir. You're here because I put out the question and I asked, is the task that Chief Bryant of the Columbus Police Department been charged with allowing the killing of unarmed black males, the starkest case of Roe versus Wade? It's a long question. I mean, if y'all need me to repeat it, I'll repeat it. If you want to rewind this, you got to rewind it. But is basically what I'm asking is her position, has she been asked to allow the killing of black males, which in my mind, because they're so young, you know what I'm saying? A form of genocide, a form of abortion, killing off black males. I want to say yes. And I know, you guys are upset. Oh, Mo, SF, Mo, when you say yes, you say yes. I want to say yes for a couple of different reasons. But I want to support that yes. I ain't going to just say yes and keep y'all moving. I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to give you the facts on it. I'm going to give you the historical videos on it. I'm going to give you the newspaper articles on it. I'm going to even give you in her own words what she's got to say about it, right? To prove my point. That yes, she's been put in that place to allow this to happen. Because if you put a Caucasian in that position and allow this to happen, Black Lives Matter would be marching right now, right? They would be out there marching right now if this was going on. So to circumvent Black Lives Matter, what did they do? They put in a female and she's African American. So now you can't say it's progress, Negroes. You can't say it's not. What do you want from us? We got a female that can't solve this problem. So it's not the police officer's fault. It's not the system's fault. You know what I'm saying? I want to say, but it's more than just, we understand that they're sliding her into the slot so they can de-escalate a situation. A lot of times she might want to feel like her position is based on merit. She deserves the position. She's been serving and turning a blind eye for the longest, so she deserves this position. They're utilizing her as a pawn. Told you it's all about chess. She's a pawn piece. Pushed her up, and she's gonna have to take L. But I'm not gonna go too far into it because I know y'all gotta skedaddle. You know what I'm saying? Those who want to continue, I want to thank you. Those who just want to give me a couple of views, I appreciate that too. Thank you for your support. Shout out to my man Ron B in the middle. Shout out to my family. Shout out to everybody supporting us. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep doing what you do. We are the voice of the voiceless, the only voice. We are the voice of the voiceless. We're the only platform out here doing what we do, giving you another version of the story, giving you something to think about. Giving you make you go home saying I never thought about it like that, SF Mo. I never looked at it from that perspective. That's what we do. We're the voice of the voiceless. And I told you before, if you see me sing, dance, tap dance, rap, I don't do none of that shit. So you might want to click off now. But if you want to hear the rest of the story and you want to see me build this up and prove my point, stick and stay. You go ahead and say it now.
You in the grill pit, bitch.
One time, like this. For those who hop and make your one nigga straight loony after taking my car.
Who was accepted as a god in Europe long before the birth of Christ, accepted quite a few Africans as deities. Imhotep, this great African who was the world's first multi-genius.
This is SF Mo, your prison lawyer. I want to welcome you to the Grill Prig. Thank you, doctor, for that introduction. I couldn't have said it any better myself.
To see the very real impact Donovan's senseless death has had on his family and friends. These are the faces of just a few of the many people that have had their lives altered forever because of the events of early Tuesday morning. As you all know, on Tuesday, the Columbus Police Department released video body cam footage that shocked anyone who saw it. Thank goodness for body cam video. While we support the investigation announced Tuesday by Police Chief Bryant, there is also no question that the video tells us all, every single one of us, exactly what happened in the early morning hours of August 30th. Donovan Lewis was in the back room of his apartment when CPD stormed the apartment at 2 a.m., shortly after 2 a.m., with a warrant. Donovan was asleep before police officers arrived and had no warning that CPD would burst into his apartment. As 3 white police officers and an aggressive canine dog entered the apartment, Donovan was alone in his room, in his bed. The dog and the officers approached Donovan's room. Officer Anderson opened the door to his bedroom as officers were yelling at Donovan to come out. Officer Anderson opened the door and almost immediately fired a shot into the bedroom as Donovan was trying to get out of bed. Donovan was unarmed, and he was abiding by police commands to come out of his room when he was shot in cold blood by Officer Anderson. There was no justification, let me be clear, no justification for Officer Anderson to shoot an unarmed man trying to get out of bed as police officers were instructing him to do. These are the seconds that mark the final minutes of Donovan's life.
I need cuffs. I'm out of cuffs. Hands behind your back. Do it now. Hands behind your back. Call for a 24. Hands. 43 minutes over to 24. Get your hand back. Stop.
So, that was very, very, very traumatic. You know, very traumatic. I don't really have words for exactly what went on. But the most sickest thing about them with their deadly force, or them, they're trying to apprehend an individual. The cop shot a deadly shot, you know, because they're trained to kill, right? And once he did it, he's barking out commands. And they handcuffed the individual. How much does this play? How much does this contribute to his death? It's not even that. It's just like you're. So if you've never been in a situation like this, maced, brutalized, beaten, and them barking out these orders and telling you what to do, it's below dehumanization, right? You know, you just shot me. I'm getting ready to die, and you want me to put my hands behind my back so you can handcuff me. Such that from your prison lawyer. So I showed the video with Amir Locke and his situation in Minneapolis. Looks really similar to what happened in Columbus, Ohio. And it's funny, this has happened in Columbus, Ohio, city named after individual who was colonizer, genocide, liar. This is the city though, where this is occurring at. So first of all, the question, if you guys forgot what the question was, what we're trying to prove right now, we're asking the question, is the task given to Chief Bryant, or the task she's been charged with, allowing the killing of unarmed black males, the most starkest, the most egregious form of Roe versus Wade. Now, first thing you're going to say is that's abortion. Why are you trying to make the connection? It's a loose connection. I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh yeah, this is abortion. But in the sense of the individuals who believe in culture, the individuals who believe in community, then I can challenge you. To those Eurocentric individuals who believe in what's going on right now, you're gonna push back and be like, there's no way in fucking hell this is an abortion. She didn't carry him. She had nothing to do with him. But those individuals who understand Africanism, understands culture, first thing you're going to say, she's charged in her community as being a safety area. She's charged with her as a brother's keeper. She is a mother. She is our mother. You know what I'm saying? So in the African community and communalism, everyone is a son of the community, a mother of the community, father of the community, uncle of the community, elder of the community. So now I'm presenting a question to you, now asking a question to you, is this a form of abortion? Is it? She's a mother. These are young black males being taken out by white police officers. So in order for this to happen, there's certain things have to be put in place for it to continue to happen. Not because we know it's going to happen. They haven't not allowed it to happen, but they want it to continue to happen. So what they need to do, they need to put certain individuals in key positions in order for this to happen. One is this female. I showed Amir Locke situation because his situation. So we're going to try to draw this all out and bring perspective to it. So because it's right now, it seems like it's an incident, but you got to understand there's a couple things that has happened in this community in the last 8 days. They had 3 police officers shooting. That's the first thing you need to understand. Now I'm gonna go back to that so you can understand the gravity of that, the police shootings. But once we hit the police shootings, I want to go back all the way to 2020 and start this off because this situation is starting in 2020. But let's just check out these 3 officers involved shootings and understand what we're going to lead us all the way up to Donovan's murder. But let's just stop for a second.
Transparency, accountability, cooperation. These are our bedrock values.
Breaking tonight, a push for transparency and the release of body camera footage from 3 police shootings over the last 8 days.
The first one happened last Monday on the west side, the second Saturday on the east side, and the third happened overnight in the Hilltop.
The police want to be transparent. The city wants to be transparent. and we want to be transparent as well.
Now, tonight we're going to show you each of these police-involved shootings. We'll warn you ahead of time here. The footage is disturbing. And let's start with last week's shooting at the Wedgwood Village Apartments. There was some kind of fight, and an officer fired his gun. Hey, you can see the fire happened at close range. The person dropped to the ground with his hands up, but no one was hit by the bullet, and police took a teen and 2 men into custody.
In the second shooting Saturday afternoon, a teenager gets hit by a bullet after getting out of a car. Again, we warn you, the video is disturbing. Watch and listen closely because the sound is low. Police say the teen and another person got out of the car with guns. The teen is expected to recover. Police took 4 people in all into custody and say they recovered multiple weapons.
And then this morning, the deadly shooting at a Hilltop apartment. A man shot as officers tried to serve a search warrant. You'll hear the shot, but we'll freeze the video just before the shooting.
We're going to sit that dog down.
So now what we see 3 shootings, 8 days in this Columbus area by police officers. So I guess the next question, it's going to be, damn, what the hell's going on? Well, they had a transition of police chiefs specifically based on incidents that occurred prior. So let's ask ourselves a question. Who is this Chief Bryant? Who is she? And I'm gonna look to try to explain that to you, and give you a little bit background of who she is and why she's just a pawn piece in this game. You know, let's just look at her. Let's just do a little bit of research about who she is and why she was put in this position. And that's gonna take first. Let's just see who she is, and then we're gonna look back at the Columbus, Ohio Police Department, and then we're gonna try to get ourselves up to 2022 and understand why placing her position was to continue the killing of unarmed black men, not stop it. Right? Okay, let's do this. Chief Elaine Bryant. That's the question we need to ask. We already showed what happened, what's going on with the 3 police shootings in 8 days. We showed the situation. We asked the question, is Chief Bryant, or the task that Chief Bryant been given or charged with, the task she's been charged with, is the reason, is she being, is the fact that she's been placed in this position equivalent to her accepting the fact that it has to be some form of genocide, has to be some form of abortion, has to be some constructive removal of individuals out of that community, specifically black males. Because once we go further into facts, we're going to see that Ohio's has its prison system is disproportionately black at a high rate, super high rate. It makes no sense. It's so disproportionate when you look at what the blacks represent in the community. But that's a little bit further along. Let's just take a look at who she is. Her LinkedIn profile says that she was chief of police. She's the police of Columbus division of police. She's a chief now. Prior to that, she was in the Detroit Police Department, Division 911. She was deputy chief there. Prior to that, for 2 years, 6 months. Prior to that, she was part of the Detroit Police Department for 4 years, 7 months. She was commander. Captain there. She was part of major crimes there. So you see that she's got this long history. She was part of major crimes being a police officer. I think it goes back about 21 years. There also was written an article on her. So because I want to be able to utilize when I make a statement about there also was written an article on her. So, because I want to be able to realize when I make a statement about
its need,
her need to accept the fact that she must kill her young being, of course, literally speaking, she has not birthed none of these individuals. That's part and parcel to this systematic killing, this police violence that has occurred. But she must be okay with it. She must be okay with it, because for her not to see these individuals as her children, to me, is disturbing, right? When you look at her, so they don't ask her about that. I'll be curious to know her position on certain things, but that's not this. But I'm making my point, and me making my point. I don't want anybody to just say that he's saying things for sensationalism. No, I'm really, really trying to figure out what's going on and why is it so easy for you to walk into a residence, serve a warrant, and have the warrant be a death sentence. You know what I'm saying? And the individual be okay with it. He had kitchen mitts on, oven mitts on. I thought it was a gun. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, bursting someone home at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the police chief says this is okay. This is how we do things around here. At worst, you're startling an individual. You're disrupting what's going on. And of course, they're not. If they're sleeping and waking up the same way Amir Locke was in his situation, waking up, you're disturbing him. He's startled. You don't know what the fuck is going on. And yet still you're barking out orders with him. You got this. So it's just like, so you're bringing this militarization tactic into it, making it okay that you can occupy these dilapidated, impoverished areas and utilize military tactics in order to seize individuals that you find to be fugitives, and you need to put them back into your system of incarceration, because we all know that all it is now is just a transference of wealth. That's what incarceration does. It's a transference of capital. It removes capital for individuals attempting to achieve it. You can't achieve it, and it transfers it over to individuals, poor white individuals, middle-class white individuals who have no way of production. They transfer wealth over that. How do they do that? By placing black bodies into prison cells. That's a whole nother conversation. That's FMO saying we're just going to check into Elaine Bryant, Chief Bryant. She's chief now, straight up chief. Her situation and what's going on. So, article was written as there was a transference of power. The mayor saying that he was gonna, because of previous issues, and we're gonna talk about the previous issues with the Columbus, Ohio Police Department, that he was gonna make this huge change. So he brings in Mrs. Bryant. So here she comes. No one has ever came into Columbus Division of Police with the political and public expectation facing Elaine Bryant. The new chief arrives as the city rolls out the civilian police review board and department strife and community unrest due to recent high-profile killings by officers. So here comes Mrs. Bryant, and she's going to be the savior. Not so much, they don't believe she's going to be a savior, what she is, because they're not planning on stop killing black individuals. Remember, my statement is this a form of Roe versus Wade? Because their whole intentions is to continue doing what they're doing and do it in these areas where it's predominantly black, so black people are feeling it economically, they're feeling it when it comes to incarceration, and they're feeling it when it comes to police violence. They can't say nothing about it because the progression they've already got, they're gonna win. They're gonna win regardless. They're gonna win if they continue to come in there and kill black males, and they're gonna win if they go get some black police officer to be chief, to be chief and do it underneath her reign. Pay her so we can do it. We want to continue to do this regardless. So if you want progression, remember I told you with all this distraction, you don't understand what progression is. So now Black Lives Matter, whoever is out there marching, can't go out there and march anymore, because now you get a black face come out there and say, hey, what do you want us to do? You want the white person to go back? It's whatever game they plays. So let's just keep on going. So the mayor, Mrs. Bryant, comes in amidst departmental strife, community unrest due to a high-profile killings by police officers, investigations to police brutality during 2020 protests, and a public rift between the mayor and the local fraternal order of police. Okay, so here she comes. So she's Moses, you know, boom, she's gonna connect these two areas. You know, she's all right, to the promised land we're going, Mrs. Bryant. So the mayor has long promised that the next chief would be a change agent. A change for who? You might want to ask before you say. I mean, remember you're talking about progression. Which way is progression going? And if you're not conscious of what's around you, they'll tell you it's progression. You'll believe it's progression. You'll see it's progression, but you're too worried about TikTok dancing and people beefing and snitching and all that other dumbass shit. You're not conscious of what's going on around you in your community, and that's a problem because they're saying he's a change agent. He's bringing you change, but I just told you she's a lineage. She has a lineage. She's got nothing but police. She's playing a game. She knows how the game goes. She's moved up in rank as a police officer. She understands how the police department goes, but she's got a face, so she's got that duality, right? She looks like she's changed because she's a black female, and so she's been rooted in on the field, so she understands the beat cop, you know, what he's going through. So you can put her up there when you got Black Lives Matters going, and you can bring her up because the people are gonna say she's a police officer. She's understand. She walked the beat with us. She understands the toughness of this job, so we can respect her in that way. So that's what we give. So there go Mrs. Bryant, Elaine Bryant, Police Chief Bryant, relocated following 21 years in the Detroit Police Department. So that's where we get our history from. So she understands what's going on. Rising from patrol officer, she started on a beat to deputy chief, and is the first black woman to lead Columbus Division. So she's leaps and bounds. The Barack Obama of the Columbus, Ohio Police Department. Beautiful story of success in America. Being a double minority. Now this is where I want you to understand where she's a piece on a chessboard. So it's not her merit. It's not about meritocracy. It's that we need someone right now to bridge this gap between the fraternal brother of these police officers, the gang. I might as well call them, you know, the benefit of the gang. This gang of police officers, and I guess now these extremist black people who don't want to be killed. So that's SFMO saying it. So she's a double minority, a female and African American that has significantly influenced the way that I police. So she's saying that her minority, her position in the community has changed the way she police. This is her own words. Who is a mother of two sons, 19 and 21 at the time of this article, which is written in 2021. So we can say they're a little bit older now. So she's got black males as her children. So there's no reason why when I put her out and said she's a mother and she should understand what's going on, she should understand that any individuals they kill, that black males, that these white police officers kill, she should have some or not all compassion toward it and not be in a position that allows it. Should be trying to stop it. We understand that, right? That's where we get the Roe versus Wade conversation from, is the fact that she, as a black mother in our community, she understands what's going on. And I'm telling you that I went to the Amir Locke situation, showed them entering and killing. You understand too that the police has a tendency to do this more so toward our children. Okay, so now underneath her reign, it's continually going on, but she's got black male children. Let's just see in her words. So she was asked a question. That's what I'm getting to before we transition on to the history of this police department and why it was so necessary to bring her in, and what was the strife between the community, the mayor, and the police department. Police department want to continue to kill black males. They're mad because black people don't want it to happen. So what was going on at this time where we had to go to Detroit, bringing this black female, African American female, to solve this problem, supposedly? Put a Band-Aid on it, right? Let's put a Band-Aid on it. So she was asked a question about Columbus. She says, Columbus and the country as a whole is dealing with an increase in violent crimes. What do you see as the cause? It's a question you asked. Remember, I told you, she's not coming in as change. She's coming in as status quo. She knows how things get down. She knows the verbiage to use, and she knows who the problem is. And I talked about, if you watch my other video about neo-Negroism. You know what I'm saying? Black people put in this question that she was asked. She was asked a question about Columbus and the country, and the uptick in violent crimes. And she asked a question in turn about was asked what do you think the cause was or is. The uptick in violent crimes. And she said in turn was asked what in her own words. We want to keep it in her own words. We don't want any problems. So she says, I speak a lot about this. In her own words. We want to keep it in Elaine Bryant, Chief Bryant, saying this. So she says, I speak a lot because a lot of our crime is being perpetuated by young people. So we have to get a hold of them at an early age, and we have to make sure we have these after-school programs in place at an early age. We used to have a lot, and they fell off. A lot of single mothers don't have time. They're not with the children. They're at work. So it's up to us as a community to wrap our arms around them and make sure that we're giving them something productive to wrap our arms around them and make sure. That's what she said. We're giving them something. Sounds good. I mean, like I said, I don't understand. So that's what she said. I don't understand what's going on. She doesn't understand. I don't understand that. I don't understand the killing of unarmed black males. She doesn't understand the situation that's going on in her community. Males. That she's got a situation rogue. That's going on in marching orders. And that she's got a police just because she believes things should be a certain way. They don't believe things should be a certain way. So why did you say that? She believes. Now we're going to go back be a certain way. A little bit in history. They don't believe things should be a certain way. Because in order for her to come in, for her to be necessary. For her to be necessary, there had to be a reason why. In order for there was an article for her to come in, for her to be necessary. There was an article for her to be necessary, and there was a question. There had to be a reason why. It wasn't a question. It was an article statement because they had to statistical data to prove it. So there was no need to ask a question, and it was they had to walk you through it because they were going to tell you. Actually, it was a statement what the answer to the question was. Data to prove it. So there was no need to ask a question. 10% of Columbus police officers because they were going to tell you what the answer to the question was. So it says records show less than 10% of Columbus police officers are African American. Of Columbus police officers are African American. Records show that less than 10%. So it says Columbus Division of Police is currently made up of 1,900, say 2,000 officers. So it says Columbus Division of Police is currently made up of largest police departments, say 2,000 in the state with 23 officers per 100,000 residents. Largest police. So they're saying in this area, in the state, they have a lot of 23 officers. Problem with these police is they're in the area. Columbus. They have a lot. Columbus has a lot of Caucasians in Columbus. So statistics show that Columbus. So we're going to go into Columbus statistics has a lot of because we're going to try to make this shit make sense, and it's not. I'm going to give you. So we're going to go into spoiler alert. So this is not going to make sense. So Columbus has this white police force. I'm going to give you. Spoiler alert. And the statistics show that in Columbus, so Columbus has this white police force that the census shows the statistics show that in Columbus that 58% of the population are white. That in Columbus, people will call themselves white. 50, let's say 58% identify as white. Of the population are white. And we have white. 28% of individuals
and we have
identify with African American, Black, whatever you want to call them,
28%
playing the census game. So with that being said,
African American
makes you
Black,
say,
whatever you want to call them.
They used to say
Playing
something to make you say,
So with that being said,
we start looking at the prison population. It doesn't match up at all. I mean, Blacks are overrepresented in the prisons.
Prison population it doesn't
overrepresented in their jails.
Blacks are overrepresented in their prisons,
but in the population, they're jails. We say they're about 50-60% white,
population,
about 30% Black.
So they're
90%. We can say
we said about
50-60%
white,
round numbers. Say the other 10% is other, some whatever variation of it. This makes up
those numbers together.
Columbus,
round numbers, and say the other
the city
10% is other,
okay.
Some
we can say at in the prison system, Columbus
city
as I'd say maybe 20. I think the records are like 2021. I don't think there's anything on for 2022 that they have put out. I think the records on the internet, but it shows about 40,000 individuals.
Anything on for 2022.
They say
they have put out on the internet.
I want to get this. I want to get this right because this is stark. So they're saying like I think Blacks represent somewhere like
this is
40-some%.
So they're saying
of
like
individuals incarcerated, and whites make up like 50-some%.
40-some%
individuals incarcerated. The numbers look like this.
And whites make up like the 50-some%.
Jail, we see that Blacks or African Americans, whatever they want to be called, represents 34% of the jail population, and Caucasians represent 61% of the jail population. Prison, whites, Caucasians, 51%, African Americans, Blacks, Negroes, whatever they want to be called, 54%. So I just told you that it's all out of whack, right? For Blacks individuals, they're being overrepresented in jails and prisons. I'm sorry, in poverty. I've not pulled up the facts to it, but it just seems like from state to state to state, long as the state's following this methodology, you want to call it, because it just seems like it's too systematic, too chronic for it to be an anomaly, that it makes sense to these white people, right? More Black, you have a smaller population of Blacks, you have these small clusters of areas where you're taking them, you're cultivating them, you're harvesting them, you put them in the prisons at a high rate, and at a high rate based on population, and that's significant because if you see that they represent, and a lot of times, like states of Minnesota, it's easy to view, they're less than 1% of the community, yet and still when you look at the prison population, they're being drastically overrepresented. But when you pull them out of community, here's another form of genocide, another form of abortion, because within these institutions, they're unable to produce. So a lot of times they get out and they can't find a mate, or they don't want to find a mate because they've been so socialized out of finding mates, right? Because of the prison system. A lot of them haven't had, some of them are fortunate enough to have children prior to going in, but even those children are subject to be incarcerated. So here's another form of genocide. You ask yourself a question. You're asking SF more question. What do you want to ask me? What counties make up Columbus? Well, Columbus is made up of 3 counties, mainly one, which is Franklin, and then it has 2 counties that they sort of overlap in. Right? And then what does that look like to prisons? So I just gave you the statistics of jails and prisons. So what does that look like based on, because because there's a reason there. So remember I told you that there's a reason they invited Elaine Bryant. They went to Detroit, pulled her down from Detroit, brought her in. I told you historically, I said I was going to base this on historical. The reason why I say that she is the starkest case of Roe versus Wade, meaning that she's allowing the police officers to kill unarmed Black men as a form of genocide, as a form of abortion, as a form of killing Black males. So if you're fortunate enough that your mother doesn't abort you, then you have to deal with prison. You're going to have to deal with poverty. You're going to deal with being undereducated. You're going to have to deal with social stigma that comes with being black in America. And if none of that shit kills you, health, eating the food, eating of this processed food, all this other shit, they're going to make sure, again, you're going to go to prison, or a police officer is going to be able to murder you. This is a form of abortion without any penalties. Even with penalties, it still is at the highest rate. So you have a high rate of individuals going to be incarcerated, which incarceration itself is a form of sterilization, because being incarcerated, there's no way for you to produce. And if you just do a database of the ages of these individuals who are going into prison, that are being murdered by police officers, that are subject to all these different things, mental health issues, with all these things. So you look at it, it's a form of genocide, because black people aren't going to stop having kids at a rate, or people of color aren't going to start having kids, because remember, it's the color that they have a problem with, right? They can separate Mexicans and blacks and natives all they want, but anybody of color is not in their version is not a white person. So their segregation has limited their ability to be populous in this place we call Earth. Because if you look around the world, black people are not a minority, nor are we a minority in the United States. It's just the way they do their census. It's a whole nother story. SF Mo gonna bore you with that. We're gonna start going into this county to base this county, see how this county is working. Columbus, we got this black chief. She's chief. She's not governor. She's chief, right? So they can still get rid of her, but she's chief. So of this gang. So they bring her in. We have Franklin County makes up Columbus. Also Fayette County, and Franklin, Fayette. There's one more of the county that makes up their county. It's another, I think it's Delaware County. So they got like 3 counties. They sort of overlap into. So when you start looking at jail admissions, we see Fayette County and Franklin. Well, we see Fayette being a rate of it's 8,887 out of 100,000 of individuals going into to the jail system. And I don't know if they're doing it because they know they make up 3 counties. All 3 counties, just 1 county. I don't know. I know Franklin County annual count of individuals, and they're top of the county. They're top in the counties. They're at 52,056 is what they look like. And prison admissions, they have Fayette and Fayette and Franklin broken down. I don't see Delaware on it, so it must. But they have at a rate of they go, for some reason they do this shit weird. So a rate of they're at the top at 656 out of 100,000. They're putting people in prison. And Franklin is at the top 10. It makes the top 10. It's number 3. Franklin is number 3. So Franklin, Columbus, we already did the demographics of it. We broke it down. You know, black individuals make up 29% of the community of that Columbus city, which we find 3 counties in that city. We find black individuals being overrepresented in their prison system, which is whatever. Like, wow, whatever. It is what it is. It's just like now it's just a common understanding. But that common understanding falls right back to what our police chief says, where violent crime uptick is. When you think violent crime, you think uptick, you think African-American males who are causing problems and they need to be incarcerated. That's what you think. And that's her understanding of what's the problem with crime. So she already knows who the problem is. She has no problem arresting them. She has no problem turning a blind eye to the fact that somebody gets shot because she's just doing her job the same way as Mrs. Ellis is doing her job in Georgia. So now you're seeing this nation of individuals who've been given tasked of removing African American males because they're the problem, right? They've been painted as a problem, and it makes sense. Get rid of the problem. Put them in jail. Put them in the ground. If they're not willing to work, go to work and do the things they need to do. Abide by this country. We're gonna re-educate them, or we're gonna put them in the ground. So that makes sense. So that's just the first part of me proving this. After 2000, so we went to 2020, where they said that only 10% of the police force in this county, where blacks make up 29% of the county, makes up, and then in turn they make up a huge percent of individuals being arrested. We did those numbers. I think it was something like 35%. And then we went to prisons that they make up a greater percent. We did something like 47%. But they only 10% of the police force. So now you see there's a problem between the police doing their jobs in these communities, because you know that more than likely don't understand what's going on in these areas, and police abuse, brutality, and all this other stuff, because it's not jiving. What do you mean? We're gonna take it one step further, and we're gonna go to 2021.
On Walton. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Don.
I am so sorry for your loss, Tamala. Casey was shot and killed as he was walking into his own home. Tell me what you know about what happened to your son that day, please.
All I know is that my son left home that morning, as he would do as a normal person, to go to a dental appointment. After returning home from his dental appointment, well, before returning home, he stopped to get Subway for him, my mother, and my 5-year-old son. Upon returning home, Casey was entering the house. Casey was executed, went into the home. His body fell into the house with the sandwiches, with the bullet holes.
And so, Don, I think it's important to note that.
Hang on a second, Sean. Because I think it's important for people to hear, Tala, and it's important to hear you. But I just want to know, unfortunately, Tamala, there are so many mothers that have to go through this, and we don't know, what this investigation is going to cover, but there's so many mothers who have to go through this, and that particular pain that you're feeling right now shouldn't be felt by any mother, regardless of the circumstances.
No, sir, it should not. This was senseless. My son would not have harmed a fly. If my son was given a command, he would have listened. He was a law-abiding citizen. Everything he did was legal. My son was murdered. And there's just no ways around it. And he deserves justice. I mean, the kid had a whole life in front of him. He had plans. He had dreams. He wanted to be a CCW instructor. He wanted to own. He had a CDL license. He was working, saving, trying to save enough money to purchase his own truck. He wanted to drive his own trucks. He didn't want to drive for nobody no more. He wanted to do his own thing. He had plans. He had dreams. He had goals. And they were ripped from him for nothing.
Sean, thank you for being patient. I've got to ask you because, he was armed. He had, Ohio has a concealed carry law. He was a carry permit holder. He was legally armed. He has no criminal background. He was not the target of any investigation. Do you know why he was even confronted by the deputy?
Don, I think that is a major question because, in 2020 in America, a black man should be able to legally possess a firearm in a state that allows you to openly carry a weapon. And so, with that being the case, with Casey being someone who was a law-abiding citizen. He was peaceful. He always preached to his family the need to safely follow gun laws. And so Casey was a person who did everything right. And so what happened that day that caused this deputy to take the life of this black man as he walked into his own home? He left the dentist that day. He was carrying a face mask and Subway sandwiches, got his keys in the door, and was executed. So we have no idea why he was confronted, but it's on Jason Meade to tell the family what happened that day.
There are rallies, Tamala, calling for the schedule all week, right? Calling for justice. All summer, people all over this nation protested police brutality and racism. Do you feel that this is a systemic problem in Columbus as well as this country?
Absolutely. I believe it's a problem all around, but it's swept under the rug because these are their officers and they protect them. We're not protected, but they are. They're given a badge to serve and to protect us. But because of the color of protected, again, they're not protected.
Another video, hard to watch. We can talk about Castile. We can talk about Mr. Crawford, who also was in Ohio when he was shot. A state concealed and carry. A police officer was called to Walmart because a black man had a gun in the aisles of Walmart, and he was executed. So this is one of the first, not the first, but this is an onslaught of what's going on in Ohio. And you can see this is specifically Columbus, Ohio, or we're building up to why it's necessary to bring her in. Again, I tell you, that's not to stop what's happening. It's just to mitigate it. So it's not, we don't have to worry about these angry black folks burning down our, Ponderosas and, Cracker Barrels, right? So that's basically what this is all about. It's another gentleman who actually caused the switching of the changes of guards, right? So they kept, this things kept happening. People wanted to change. So we're gonna show you one more incident. This is 2021 now. This incident happened in 2020. I was wrong. I thought I was gonna play the gentleman who was murdered in 2021. I think his last name is Hill. But let's just switch to him.
Aid. And ABC's Kenneth Moten is here now with what the police brass are saying about all of this morning. Kenneth, good morning to you.
Dan, good morning. Horrifying. That's how the police chief in Columbus has described several body camera videos of that scene from last week. And we can also report there's quite a bit of footage because of the large number of officers who were there as Andre Hill lay dying.
Get your hand up underneath you now!
This morning, newly released body camera video sparking outrage in Columbus, Ohio, after some officers show an apparent lack of action to trying to save the life of Andre Hill.
And it's just disgusting how they did my dad. These pictures that I gotta look at, I gotta memorize my dad on the floor for the rest of my life.
Police body camera video shows the 47-year-old unarmed black man walking out of a garage, cell phone in his left hand. This new angle from an officer who says she didn't see a weapon or any threat when fellow officer Adam Coy yelled, "There's a gun in his other hand," and opened fire.
Stop him up. Still moving.
Hill, gasping for air, was handcuffed 5 minutes after the shooting. Police were responding to a noise complaint when they encountered Hill next door. And in this newly released footage, a woman inside the home can be heard confronting officers.
He was bringing me Christmas money. He didn't do anything.
Still, several minutes after the shooting, no medical help for Hill until a supervisor arrives.
Anybody doing anything for him?
He was preyed upon, and he wasn't given any kind of chances.
This week, Columbus's police chief expressing deep disappointment in his officers, saying there was little evidence of compassion.
I won't tolerate a repeat of these failures. And where officers failed, they will be held accountable.
But Officer Coy, a nearly 20-year veteran on the force, already fired.
Nobody had any type of human emotion or sympathy for this dying man gasping for his last breaths. The humanity for Andre Hill. Where is the humanity for this Columbus citizen who had committed no crime?
Former Officer Coy is now facing possible criminal charges as the state and Department of Justice investigate. We reached out, but no comment from Coy's attorney. Reverend Al Sharpton will eulogize Andre Hill at a public memorial Tuesday. Eva.
It's a story that so many people are watching and will continue.
So we see now, we see his situation, you know, we know now in the future that they receive a considerable amount of money from it. The city has to pay out $2 million to the family in regards to that situation. We see that happen. I don't even understand how this amount of individuals they have that they have executed. I don't know how big this county is or the city is or what's going on, because the city and the county is going to be responsible for this money. These police officers are going in it. Well, I showed you several different cases where they have executed individuals. With this Mr. Hill situation, it was a matter of seconds. They came in and killed him, similar to the situation with Donovan. Which, I mean, come on, it's just so with this, we're gonna go into one more case. This, I think it's between Hill's case. It's before Hill's case, but there was a 16-year-old girl who was killed by the police, and struck Black Lives Matter to go out and march for this female. But we're going to look at her case just briefly, because what we're doing is we're marching right up to the transition between the chief, the white chief, and this black female. And the reason we're doing it, and the reason we're trying to utilize facts to support it, because we see all these police shootings that has occurred based strictly on racism. That has nothing to do with anything. There was no reasons behind any reason. No reason. If there was a gun, and the individual has a gun in that state, you have the right to carry. So how do you get off that he has that individual has a gun, so I had to kill him? It diminishes that. So other than color being a reasons why, there's no reasons why. So let's just look at this last 16-year-old female being shot by a police officer.
Hey! Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down!
The other person with their eyes. And the other person with their eyes. And shoot that person with their
You heard the sergeant. You heard the sergeant, whoever came on duty, tell the individual who was talking that we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That's got to be code to remember that you're on camera and you're being recorded, right? That's what it's got to be code for. So we're up to the new police chief. We've seen several different incidents where we have shootings. For the 16-year-old child that was shot by the police, Black Lives Matter comes out. They do this big thing with the situation because the situation was the officer comes up on the scene. He sees this female with this knife. He feels like the other individual's in danger. He goes straight to his gun and shoots her dead. And the question is why did you shoot her? Wasn't there another way to put her down? Which of course he has a taser. He never went to the taser. He went immediately to deadly force to kill her. And she's 16 years old. She's dead. Justifiable by them in their mind. But I mean, we think different. So now we're going to just get up to the transition of power. And at the end of this, I wasn't showing all these situations where police officers came in and killed individuals, but it's necessary, right? We need to. Sometimes you need to understand what got us to the point where we're at, and to judge, you must. In order to go forward, you must look at the past in order to have this yardstick to measure the future. So in this situation, that's what we're doing. We've seen several situations where we understood, first of all, that the police force in 2020 was probably one of the whitest police force in the nation based on the demographics. You have black people in your community, yet still you're over policing them, and you're basically becoming an occupancy force. But you also see that they have more police officers per capita in this area. I broke down those numbers for you. Also showed you that they're incarcerating individuals at a high rate. African Americans, disproportionate to the population, which is fine. Nobody's got any problems with that. We also see that they're killing African Americans at a disproportionate rate based on bullshit. It's not even there's no reason for it, but they're trying to justify it. So then what do we do to solve this problem? So shortly after the death of Mr. Hill, we have a tweet. This mayor is in Trumpism, decides to send out this tweet, and it says, "It became clear to me that Chief Quintan could not successfully implement the reform and change I expected." So we see the chief leaving out on this, and then the mayor says declaratively that he's a vessel of change, and he's decided to go a different way, and a different way becomes what we know now, or who we know now, who we were introduced to, a female who has a dual minority or dual, female, black, she's a dual minority, female, African American, sympathetic to the cause. Things are going to change in the city. Yeah, it hasn't. So do we try to go to the root? Do we try to go to the root and solve it and be like, this is race-based policing? Officers have a really disconnect between the community and themselves. Perhaps we should make example of some of these officers that they're utilizing them. Use some of that RICO shit they're using down in fucking the DA down in Georgia. She ain't got no problem using that RICO. A benefit of a gang. I mean, let's do some of that shit on these fucking police officers. Maybe get them to slow their roll a little bit. But we have that fraternal brother or whatever, the order of brothers, police officers, like the union, right? That ain't gonna happen. So they want to, but they still want to be able to do what they need to do. We don't want to slow their roll. We want them to still be able to kill unarmed black males. So what's the solution to the problem? The solution to the problem.
We're going to increase our morale in the police department, and we're going to do that as a family together.
The promise from Elaine Bryant at a virtual town hall last month. Her competition now says she's the next Columbus police chief. A flurry of news, all starting with a tweet from fellow finalist Yvonne Roman. She sent out a congratulatory message to Bryant, writing, "The residents of Columbus are lucky to have her." Bryant is currently a deputy chief with the Detroit Police. It's a historic move. Bryant would not be just the first black woman to lead the division, but the first outsider. But the mayor's office isn't officially confirming any of this tonight. Haley Nelson digging deeper for us. So, Haley, when could the mayor weigh in on who will be the next top cop?
Bob, someone from the mayor's office tells me they will be holding a press conference to introduce the next chief probably this week. But with Yvonne Roman's tweet and Avery Moore confirming to me that he was not chosen, it all comes down to Elaine Bryant.
I've had 9 chiefs in my 21-year career. So I know that you're looking for some stability. You're looking for somebody that's going to come in and that's going to listen to your concerns and your issues.
And she could be that next leader. Elaine Bryant, current deputy chief for Detroit Police, could be the newest Columbus police chief. And her competition is saying the same thing.
I'm really excited about the potential for what could be in Columbus.
Yvonne Roman sending out this tweet congratulating Bryant. Then more tweets responding to community members. In this one, she writes, "I think you and the folks in Columbus are in good hands." I spoke to Dallas's Avery Moore on the phone. He tells me he was alerted he didn't get the job, a position he really wanted.
I would love to be your chief.
Hearing instead the choice was Bryant. We learned Derek Diggs was already out of the running. During a virtual town hall last month, all the candidates shared their vision for Columbus with these promises from Bryant.
Do everything that we can to increase our community interactions. We're going to decrease our crime. We're going to increase our morale in the police department, and we're going to do that as a family together.
And sources tell our team Bryant was in Columbus this past week meeting with officers. The Fraternal Order of Police team tells me they haven't officially heard from the city yet, but look forward to working with whoever the next chief is to make Columbus safer. Bryant sharing this message with officers that she could soon be leading.
I'm also going to hold you to a high standard of excellence, because that's what the citizens of Columbus deserve.
Still some big questions tonight. Has Bryant officially signed a contract? Our Tara Morgan has requested those documents. I've been reaching out to a lot of people today. Still no official word from Bryant, Detroit Police, or Roman, but we will keep digging. On your site outside Columbus Police Headquarters, I'm Haley Nelson.
So, I guess in conclusion, this is SF Moyer prison lawyer. SF Moyer prison lawyer. SF Moyer prison lawyer. In conclusion, it is what it is, and I drew the facts. It's not for you to decide. It's exactly what's going on. It's for us to become conscious and aware of what's going on. This is a sad day. It's a sad day. It's business as usual with these individuals, with no end in sight. In fact, what they're doing is they're evolving. They're evolving. So as these organizations, these orgs come out and they put pressure on them and they see some variation of change, or what they consider change, only thing they're doing is evolving, right? So now you can't say this anymore. So what the problem is always what the problem. There's the overall problem is a lie to start with. It's an understanding of one thing, and it's all about white supremacy at the end of the day. And all they're doing is putting the actors in play to continue that. Whether it's putting black males in prison because of their problem, putting black males in the ground because they're a problem, over policing them, causing different health elements because they're in the areas where they cannot either. They're being exposed to a lot of different things, whether it's through the food, whatever it might be. It's just when I looked at Stone Mountain, when I look at these areas, we always go into the smallest percentile of the population, yet and still we get all the criminal elements, or we get a disproportionate amount, or we get this high number of individuals being extracted from their communities. And then we go back into that community almost like harvesting. We continue to harvest these individuals out of these communities and place them in prisons where they're not going to be productive at all. I mean, productive within society, production that's carrying on their individual, being able to mate with the opposite sex, if that's something they decide to do, But yet still that self-determination is being removed at an early age, because a lot of individuals I showed you are young. They're young individuals, and they're being executed, or they're being put in prison, or given life without parole. They like you said, she said it from the onslaught when she talked about a family. Remember, and that's the only way my argument falls, is because her family is not the people, because she has the skin color, and you've seen all those individuals were people of color that they selected as police. We're looking at police chiefs. All of the individuals were individuals of color who have this conversation about community, but their community isn't a black community. They just look black. Their community is the police force, right? So I guess like I said, at the end of the day, I hope you guys share, like, watch. I had to bring this to you. I mean, it's not something I look forward to going over. These stories make me sick. Just because nobody's figured it out. It's a game they're playing. They have no intention on stop, or even, like, if you looked at if that same percentile was reversed, where you had individuals with the smallest percentile doing well in college, the doctors containing the wealth, doing all those different things within a community, white folks would be upset and they would do something to correct it. Prove me wrong. You can't. So they're okay long as the numbers look fucked up when it's involving individuals of color being part of poverty, imprisonment, lack of housing, lack of income, or wealth. We can say wealth. They enjoy those things. It furthers their control of what's going on. So with that being said, I'm SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. Don't dance. Don't sing. Don't rap. I don't have a joke for you. All I need, and I say it, I keep saying, we are the voice of the voiceless, and all we need is you watching. So continue. Thank you. Just thank you for sticking the stand. And I'll be back with you with another banger. But for right now, I gotta go smoke. SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. I'm out. I'm out of here. You're in a grill pit. Peace.
Black United Front got created in Philadelphia around that. Then who becomes the spokesperson, the helmsman for this movement? A Democratic Party hack who all the years she's been in the Democratic Party never stood up for African people, never stood up to Rizzo, never said feed, clothe, and house my people. All these African people got behind Wilson Good and elected him as the mayor, didn't they? I mean, people worked like hell to elect and did some fierce political work in this city. And in this city, they had a holdover, a remnant of the movement that didn't get quite wiped out, at least visibly, in dreadlocks and what have you, and everybody calling themselves Africa. And it was a real problem for the city of Philadelphia. And so when it became time to get rid of them permanently, it wasn't Rizzo. Rizzo tried it and the people pushed him back. It was Wilson Good who gave the order and bragged about it, and he had a bomb drop on them African people. And when he did it, it confused so many people. And people were in a state of denial because they went out and worked for this guy. They worked. They couldn't
if they would have simply embraced these MOVE members as valid and valued community members, they could have worked together in tangent and said, well, you know, since you embrace environmentalism and an awareness of, you know, animal rights and Black power, how about we establish a community garden?
You ready?